It is so crazy.
Isn't that what? No, I'm just saying it's incredible that after 5 episodes, 6 episodes, we already have over 2 million downloads. It's wild.
Must be nice to do your first podcast and have it be a home run.
I know. But listen, I'm totally, I'm a babe in the woods when it comes to this stuff. I have no idea how it works, and yet, we've been in the top 10, in Spotify and Apple. I mean, it's wild.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Have you enjoyed the process of doing a podcast?
I have, and the reason I've enjoyed it is because I'm so new to it. I'm learning the language of it. I'm learning the grammar of how you do these things. And so at this stage of my life, to learn an old dog learning a new trick is it's fun.
I kind of love that you don't have to worry about the pictures. I feel like in TV news, you spend your life saying, yeah, but what are we going to do to cover that? What covers that? What covers that? And now it's like, we don't need to cover it. It feels like it takes a big load off in terms of just production.
Yeah, no, it does. And also, you don't have to look your best at all times.
Yes, well, clearly. And here I am in my bedroom. Those are my shoes up there on the top of my closet.
Wow.
Because I'm renovating, so I have no.
Yeah, how come you keep your shoes on the top there?
Because one, my dogs who are on my bed, they will eat my shoes if they're on the floor, number one.
Right.
Number two, I'm renovating my house. So that is my IKEA special, and I have no place to put my shoes. But one day I will. So everyone gets to see behind the scenes. As a rule, I don't love showing my bed. But like, what are you going to do? It's like, because I don't know, it just kind of creeps me out. But it kind of is what it is.
You have the right amount of shoes. I mean, you're not Imelda Marcos or anything like that. You have a reasonable amount of shoes.
Yeah, sure. Yes, Rob. Yes, I do. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Want to know my biggest disappointment in this entire thing?
What?
When you reached out to me, my dad was your biggest fan. He passed away a couple of years ago. And all I could think about was like, oh my God, when you reached out, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do a project with Rob Reiner. And I remember thinking like, my dad would literally just freak out if he were here to hear it and to know that. So I was just like, oh, it's just so sad. We used to, my family, as I'm sure everybody tells you this, All in the Family was such a great show. But if you're in an interracial family, like it's a really interesting show in a way that I think for the rest of America, it's kind of different. So,
when your family watched it, I mean, the fact that you were an interracial family, how did they take? I mean, was there a division in politics and how they viewed the characters?
No, I think that everyone got it. That that you had to like. Who Archie Bunker was, right? I thought he was just a great character for like messy and so wrong and yet hilarious and kind of a caricature, I guess, in a lot of ways. And so I think I don't think they thought like, oh, we hate that guy. I think they thought this is a great send up of like what race conversations are like in America today. And it was in a way that nobody else was doing it, right? Like you're an interracial couple and no one's talking about it at all. So I think they thought it was really, really interesting. How did you become a director? Because you were obviously an actor first. Is it just every actor's dream to be a director?
Well, oddly enough, I wasn't really an actor first. I was kind of an actor and a director first. When I was 19 years old, I was at UCLA and I put together an improvisation group. And I was one of the actors in it, but I also directed the company. And I also directed a production of No Exit when I was 19. So I was always wanting to do that. I mean, no, it's a big, it was John Paul Sartre and Richard Dreyfuss was actually in the show. But I always wanted to direct. So it was part of, what I wanted to do from the beginning. And oddly enough, when we did All in the Family, all of a sudden I'm now just an actor. Now I did write some of the scripts with my partner, Phil Mishkin. We wrote a bunch of the scripts, but it was like, I was 8 years. I took a sabbatical from the thing I wanted to do because I thought the show is going to, it'll die after 13 weeks. Nobody's going to watch this and I'll get back to doing what I wanted to do.
You're in the middle of, are you? I think you're in the middle of This Is Spinal Tap 2, right? Is that what it's called? This Is Spinal Tap 2?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we don't have a title yet. I mean, it's a sequel, and we start shooting. Actually, I'll be going down to New Orleans the beginning of January, and we start shooting in the third week of February. So,
Oh, wow.
and it's got Paul McCartney and Elton John and Garth Brooks and all these people. So, hopefully, it'll be good. I know it'll be funny. I hope it'll be good.
I think it's going to be great. The first one was hilarious, but didn't have all those celebs walking through it. But it was hilarious.
Because there's a weird kind of different reality now. Because when the film first came out, they were this kind of band that was known in the music world, but the film made them more famous in a weird way, and so the fame of it got other people looking at it, and then they became part of the world. It's a weird kind of twisted hybrid reality that we're living in.
Is it hard, or was it? Because we're almost done. We're recording today, obviously, but we're almost done with the podcast.
Right.
Is it hard to juggle both? Because, I mean, obviously, do you do a lot of pre-pro, or is that other people do that, or how does that work in New Orleans on that project?
Yeah, no. As a director, you make every decision. So everything is run by you.
You're the pre-pro. You're the pre-pro guy.
Yeah. You have to, you make every casting decision, every decision in terms of the set, the costumes, and all that stuff. The final decision goes with you. So you do have to get engaged, and it takes a minimum of a year to make a film. That's one of the things I like about the podcast. I mean, to be honest with you, I hated that we had a strike, but if there was no strike, I don't know that we would have been able to do this, to devote the time that I've been able to devote to this. And it's been fascinating. And listen, I got to thank you, because if it wasn't for you, I don't know, it makes me like a legitimate person in a weird way, because you're so respected, and you're award-winning journalist, and you're respected, and people know you. I know I'm going to keep saying these things.
More.
No, I know, but that legitimizes things in a way, So I was really glad that you agreed to do it.
Oh my gosh, it was my pleasure. But you know what I thought was really interesting was, and you said this on when we were doing that 3-hour media tour thing, that was actually a lot of fun, was no one over 60 years has really connected all these random dots that have been dropping kind of chaotically at different times from different people. People have a chunk, other people have a different chunk. Sometimes there's a lot of crazies, who I have a cousin who says she saw this. But I think you and Dick really have sort of been following the story, and others too have been following the story for such a long time, pulling the threads together, and that to me was really interesting. It wasn't hinging on the wacky story of one person.
That was the charge here, was to be able to take 60 years of information, put it together in a digestible way for people who didn't know very much about it, and for people who knew a lot about it to still be interested and engaged. I mean, like you said, 60 years, a thing would drop, and then 20 years would go by before something else happened. And there were people who focused on forensics. There were people who focused on, the intelligence community, on the historical context. But there are very few people that focused on all of it and try to figure out a way to tell the story and put it all together. So that's what we tried to do. And I think, so far we're succeeding based on people.
We were number one. Yeah.
We're number one. Yeah. And people come up to me all the time and they say, "Oh, I'm listening to it. I can't wait to hear the next episode."
Yeah.
So on. Yeah.
Yeah. I get a lot of that too. I think it's really hard. I don't think people realize how hard it is to do a project, any project that both serves people who know everything and people who know nothing. When I did a tech show a million years ago that got canceled after a while, but it was, we were doing basically this is a tech show for you who are obsessed with tech and are home at night building your own computers. And for you, who would like to learn HTML or maybe just email so you can, send the grandkids an email. It's really hard to juggle that content wise and not drive people away or make it so boring that other people say, this is just not worth my time.
No, that's exactly right. And, and that's a very complicated subject that you wrestle with. This is complicated
Mhm.
because of, like I say, 60 years of information and this traumatic experience that people who were alive at the time experienced. And everybody's got a different idea of what happened. And we try to put as much as we can into it, and you can't put everything in, not in in 10 episodes, but I think we do a pretty good job of walking people through it.
You know who I'd like to shout out, partly because she's just listening in since she's the producer, is Julie Pinheiro, who joined us a couple of weeks into the project. And Julie had no background in
Nah.
this topic. And the deep dive that she had to do to read
Yeah.
it, I had a few weeks where I was like, I feel so sorry for Julie, who's going
Yeah.
from 1 to 99 so fast to catch up. And
No,
and it's been
I've fallen in love with Julie because
the best.
she is
The
no, she is
best.
the best. She's the best. And she, like you say, she was dropped into the deep end of the pool, with no floaties.
No,
Yeah.
I know, it's so funny. Well, I know you've got stuff to do, and we're about to work on recording another chunk of this podcast. Sometimes people tell me, "Will you just send me all the episodes?" I'm like, "Girl, we are still recording this thing."
I know.
So no, I
know.
cannot send you. We are in the middle of piecing it together, but it's been an awesome project. I hope
Yeah.
next one you come up with that you want to do, you call me back and we'll do it again.
Okay, that sounds great.
Excellent. Nice to
Yeah.
see you, Rob. Thanks.
Nice to see you.